I mean, there was part of me that even before you even created the course, I already wanted to do it, because I think you were doing an actual in-person live a painting day a few years back, and I saw it advertised, and I just felt really drawn. Something in my heart space was really, really drawn to that, and I reached out to you because I don't even know why I reached out really, because I was like, you're in Canada, I'm in the UK, and I just put a message out there to say, wow, this something like this looks amazing, and I'd really, really love to do it. It's a shame we live worlds apart. And your response was, oh, maybe I can make this happen online. And then the magic happened, and you created something online, which I was, as soon as I saw it, was like, yes. And there was a part of me that was very not, I would not say nervous, but like apprehensive, because I hadn't been painting or had any knowledge about painting, but it spoke to me on the energetic level because of the healing work that I do, and I felt there was something in the creative process for me to explore, and that's, yeah, I guess that's why I was kind of drawn to you, just seeing that. But when I saw the course, I was like, yeah, this is something that I need to do. And it came at a time in my life where I had a little bit more time than I normally would as well. So it's taught me another way to really connect with the emotions within my system and feel what needs to be healed and where it needs to be healed from, that makes sense. Which is, again, it's a practice that is something I do, but this was in a different way, highlighting it a different way, being able to see it, being able to feel it. I think one of the massive things that you teach that is continuing every time that we connect is the diving deeper. Is like when you think you've got it, is to, yeah, that little push to go a little bit deeper. And it's really important, I think, for anyone wherever they are on their healing journey, if they're feeling that kind of pull of, yeah, I want to do that, but then there's a resistance, is having somebody that can hold the space to know when it is you need to dive that little bit deeper and where it is, and to be able to see that. And you have that skill, like it always, I don't want to say surprising, because it was always like, oh, of course, Kim's found it, or she's recognized it, even when maybe there was a part of me in whatever process that we've been through where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not ready for that. And you've just gone, okay, we're going here, and going to the root cause and going to the depths of where the soul really needs to be seen, heard, or healed. And that's something that, yeah, one of the things I think I've learned a lot from you. Um, but it's, yeah, it's been, yeah, I can't even, yeah, just so helpful in so many ways, in so many ways. The dance for me, and the connection to spirit in that process with the canvas, was, it was like an overnight thing, because when I was, in the dance of actually creating and putting the paint on the canvas, I could really feel the energy, and all the intuition was coming, and it just flowed. It was like flowing as easy as watching a river flow. There was no what I call mind monkeys. There was no doubts of like, oh no, I should use this color. Or it was like there was no thinking, because it was just in the flow of what was coming, and really in the trust of that. And I know that's when I'm in my real connection with the spirit, when I'm in that process of what's coming, if that makes sense. And it was almost kind of like being outside of your body, and just everything just kind of flowing in. And then at the end, once everything had arrived on the canvas, it was like I'd come back into my body, and then really feel into what was there, to then view it in that point and see what was being communicated to me. So it was really like, yeah, just everything kind of flowing out completely, and then looking and being, oh, and seeing a whole communication, being able to see it visually on the canvas. So and then it would be the overnight process of then letting that really integrate, and then looking at it again in the morning and really feeling sometimes a really different communication coming from the canvas, and being pulled to journey more with it. Or there would be this like, this is done, like the communication is done, it's landed. Some of the work that I do for those that don't know is particularly energy healing with people, so predominantly Reiki, but what I do is it's gone beyond Reiki. It's very intuitive. So when I connect with somebody, it's like the mind does not even exist. There's no questions coming in. There's no thinking in one aspect. It's just flowing. And the only difference I would say is when I'm working in that way, I'm really feeling in my body. So the different journey to be with the canvas is like, as that's all flowing, I was kind of not in my body, and it would coming at the end. Whereas this way, it was like I'm fully kind of feeling in the body through the process. And at the end, when I'm kind of giving guidance to people, I'm in that flow at the beginning of the canvas where we're putting the paint on. So it's like a reverse kind of process, but they're both there. They both intertwine in that relationship with spirit in both ways. Whether I'm working with people, the work that I've done with you has been really, really similar, really similar. Trust through the whole process, and that for me was a really I guess like a different way to work with trust, trusting the process and what was coming out on the canvas, that something would appear, and to trust that process rather than being in the making something appear. And I work with trust within my work a lot, because you've got to trust the process. I'm always guiding about, we just trust, and you will move through it. And you need to be in that heart space and in the place of trust for the things to unfold. So yeah, that was kind of another way for me to explore that journey. Particularly because I was like, oh, at the beginning I was like, oh, I'm not creative, which is just silly. But yeah, at the time it wasn't. That's how I felt, until I went deep, trusted the process, and was in the trust. Was surprised with what came out of my canvas, because I had things appearing. I think the first thing was feathers, just kept coming out on the first session that I had with you. And it was like, wow, okay, there's something there. And another one of the processes that I did, it was a real, very, an eye just appeared. It was almost like I just uncovered it, like I wiped the canvas and there was this eye looking at me. I'm like, how did this, and that's trusting the process. There's something there, and there's a communication from spirit that came through. So that was very good. It can be a challenge because you're being seen in a group of maybe people that you've never met, and it's something I doing it online in a group, I always thought, oh, I'm not really maybe it's not gonna feel the same as being in a group in person, but actually I felt it was somewhat deeper in some ways, really connecting with the others in the group and the sharings as well. I really loved the process of being able to really look at each other's creations at the end of the process, and being able to see, and have our kind of views on it, and being able to open and share with each other. And it was really, really interesting, all the different things that people would see in your own creation, that you were like, oh, you had to really look at it again and go, oh, okay, yeah, and it gave you a different feeling, or it opened something else up. So it became kind of almost like a real group healing in that sense. So I really like that, and I think it works really well as the collective energy when we come together as a group. Everything just seems to be, in my experience and what I've done with group work, is it's more powerful. There's more of a clearing, and I loved the meditations that you would do at the beginning, and I could really feel the energy of everybody else within the group, and kind of feel where they were. And equally their sharings, they would maybe say something and I'd be like, oh yeah, I hadn't seen that, or I didn't feel that, and it would kind of really, touch my heart, and it would trigger something in me that needed to be healed. So there was a lot of sharing and a lot of healing within the group. So I think the group works really well, and I really love that. And even if you're somebody who is, like on the fence or doesn't really like group work because they find it hard to speak in a group, I think in one aspect, like, it's easier online because you could turn your camera off. You don't have to be seen, and it's a little bit easier. So it can help you kind of introduced into that journey as well. And you're holding it, so that's always great. One word would be magical, because every time I've worked with you in any different aspect, there has been magic. And what I mean by magic is like the transition that happens, and the way that it flows, and the way that it's gently guided, but with that, the push also to dive deeper, and knowing that you're held in that space, and also feeling, because you've got to trust. What I'm trying to say is that you've got to really trust somebody when they're holding your space. And any time that I've done any work with you, I've felt completely and utterly held, like you are fully able to hold my space, and I can fully let go. And that's something that is huge for me, and that's why I use the word magical, because not everybody, for me, has that ability to do that. And some of the things that I've journeyed with in my own life, that has been an issue, like being able to give over and surrender for someone else to kind of help you through that process. That would be, I guess, one of the, summing it up, probably saying a whole lot. It's very difficult to sum up when you have such transformations, but every time there's always been, I've left feeling the change, I've left feeling lighter, I've left feeling more clarity about where I'm going, or where my focus needs to be next, or feeling more connected and with spirit, with soul, with my my own inner higher self as well. For sure, it's helped me through some really wacky things, as you know. But yeah, and learning to kind of process and trust much deeper than I have with anyone else. So yeah, it's magical. It's the one word that I've got. It's magical, and transformative experience.